Friday, and I'm with Tom Schaefer, the always devilishly handsome Tom Schaefer, and Stephen Strong, co-founder and chief business officer of Origin Media.
Thanks for having
me. Of course. Hey, real quick, you like cold showers?
No.
Tom, have you been? So context is we had Alan Ispan on last week. Founder of many things, but he recently started a health and fitness app, and it comes with its own challenge. And part of it, for extra credit, you can take cold showers, which I was talking about. I love. I don't do. I've been. I think it's like 4 days in a row now. I've been doing them. I feel.
I was
good.
I'm in the mountains, so the water out of the tap is ice cold. And I was going to do it this morning, but I didn't, but I will because you're doing it. And actually, Alan, if he's watching this either now or on replay, I'm trying to get his app installed on my test flight. I want to jump into the program, having some issues, but I'll get it resolved. But he's got a really great program.
Nice, because I talked to Alan this morning and he said you didn't get the app yet. So I was actually going to call you out on this thing.
Yeah, no. I'm trying to get it. It's not working for me, so I got to figure it out with him. But we'll take care of that later.
Okay. All right. Stephen, thank you again for joining. And let's just get into what does Origin do? Origin Media.
So Origin Media has coined the phrase native for CTV, and native has been kind of a known format on desktop and mobile and other platforms for many years, hasn't existed on CTV till recently. And bluntly, the premise of everything we do is that the ad experience on connected TV is shit. And whether you're watching a fast platform and seeing the same ad over and over again, or seeing an ad in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish, or even if you're watching a long form, movie or show on Hulu, you're getting the same ad breaks over and over and over again. So everything that Freddie Godfrey, who many people know, who I founded the company with, it was on that premise that, again, CTV is this sort of means that you can do amazing things with, but the advertising experience is really horrible and reminiscent of television many years ago. So we have a product that we brought to market, validated through a number of data studies called Slingshot, where we work with a brand and agency. We create a 15-second piece of ancillary content we run in front of the ad in an ad break, and everything we do is top and middle funnel. So we've done a bunch of brand studies and work with T-Vision on the panel front to show that when we're creating these sort of snippets of content that are contextual to the ad and viewing environment, we get increased awareness and attention by 88%, drive increased purchase consideration, and really kind of break through the noise. So everything we do is really fundamentally about making the ad experience on CTV better, both for the consumer and for advertisers who are spending a lot of money there.
Very nice. So I had an aha moment 3 or 4 years ago, and the aha moment was man, these ads, I hear all this talk evolution, CTV, it's here, now it's the year of CTV, and yeah, is it fair to say, and you're don't let me put words in your mouth, but the state of affairs for CTV advertising in 2022 is shit?
I did say that. So if you quoted me on that, that wouldn't be correct. And I do use the technical term shit. So I do think there's a lot of conversation that frequency issues are solved or not. Frequency is not an issue, and frequency is still an issue. And I think when you get under the hood a little bit between, especially in a programmatic world where you have an advertiser spending $1 and then it sort of playing on an app, there are a bunch of intermediaries in there that frankly aren't incentivized to solve the problem. And if the same ad runs 300 times in a day, I don't think that was the intent of the brand and agency, but the intermediary is sort of collecting money on all of those impressions and may have the technology means to solve it. But again, they want to make money and they're not incentivized to solve it. So I think part of it is the technology has existed for a while, but some people just aren't incentivized to activate on it. And then you have all these downstream issues where people see the same ads over and over again. That causes a churn issue for the platform. And then it sort of becomes, full circle, right?
So, who is the biggest, I'm sorry, Tom, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, Stephen, are you guys sort of your own proprietary, excuse my, just lack of lingo here, but just you're an ad server? Are you an SSP? are you, what exactly is Slingshot, the product? Is it I'm just curious, like if I wanted to use that, and then would I be able to, do I bring in other ad networks into that ecosystem, or am I just going to you if I want to serve ads? How does that work?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's twofold. So we've built all of our technology in-house. We have something that's sort of a hybrid ad server, DSP, SSP, so it functions on all those mediums. It's also a DMP. We can pull in data partners. So folks can activate with us in two ways, which is exciting. They can come to us as a managed service, activate through a programmatic DSP partner, or and something we encountered a year ago when we were in market building the product is when you're talking to some of the biggest agency holding groups in the world, they're doing $10 billion in supply deals, and you're never going to be able to compete with their rates. So we also have a use your own supply flavor of the product that people can work with us. We'll build the slingshots, give them a VAS tag, and they can plug it into their own supply and pay us sort of a CPM fee. So everything we've done when we were in sort of startup phase is avoiding those easy no's. So making the project very agile so it can kind of function and flow how anyone wants to. We've made it really easy to execute on.
Are your customers brands, advertisers?
You mean they're both? A lot of customers to date have been kind of the big agencies, as you would expect, and then working with brands through the agencies such as a Macy's, Petco, Athleta, Old Navy, big folks that you know and love. And then as we kind of grow the business, and I love the traditional agency model, it's great, but you do sometimes have that kind of broken telephone. So we are focusing at the moment on having a lot of conversations with brands. How do they get into the CTV space? And there is something really nice around working with a brand directly, kind of getting that feedback and not working through an intermediary. So a lot of the business has been agencies. We love that model, but as we see more growth on the brand direct side, that's something we're super excited about.
So back to my aha moment, just I'm curious your take on it, or like if you're like, shut up Kirby, like that's stupid, like that's fine too. So I was sitting on the couch like some Saturday watching some ad supported programming because an ad break occurs and I'm on my phone, like probably a lot of people. And what happened in the aha moment was I saw an Instagram ad for a pair of shoes, like Italian leather shoes called Grace. They're out of Brooklyn. I like bought them. They're like $170. And that aha moment, as soon as that transaction went through, it's like, holy shit, I just transacted on an ad. But like this was on my phone during like these ads that were being shown to me on TV. Like it just like started, like it just kind of opened like a whole like dark hole of like, man, I think there's so many different ways that like I was on a panel with Freddie, and I think the first ad, the stat I pulled like 81 years ago, it was a Brooklyn Dodgers game. It was a Belova video ad, and here we are 80 years later, we're still showing like 30-second, I know there's different length spots. Like not a lot of evolution here. The big evolution is like, hey, let's make it like over IP and not through other means. There's definitely, I think, a lot of innovation that can happen, and I know that's what you're doing on the ad front, but like as soon as I transact on something that wasn't the TV, it's like, man, I think there's so many other formats I can imagine that would be so much more effective. And not that the traditional spots are gone, but there's other things like I've seen games and just other apps and not on a TV screen. Just and I don't know how far I don't know how far I'm off with that. I don't know how far we are away from seeing new types of stuff. I know you guys are doing stuff. I have a clip. I don't know what the clip is. Do you want to, like, it might be a good time for you to kind of walk through what we're about to watch, and then also good for me. I love visuals, and I'll probably like get it. It makes sense.
Yeah, so I think when I describe the product, people are like, that's great, but like without seeing it, they don't really understand what it is. So what we're going to show here is a live client example. We work with Toyota certified used vehicles. Part of their challenge is they created their big, beautiful ad, but it didn't really have value prop messaging. So you'll see this is a very seamless execution where origin is the first 15 seconds. Toyota and their sort of creative studio is the last 15 seconds. You'll see in this example how we kind of weave everything together.
Cool. All right, let's take a look.
I love it. And it has low mileage for a pre-owned car.
Wow. I bet this will go really fast.
Discover the excitement assortment of Toyota certified used vehicles today.
I kind of want to go out and buy a Toyota.
Yeah, Steven, that's incredible. The first 15 seconds. So you guys did the creative work on that too?
Yeah, so we have a creative studio in-house. We work directly with the brand to make sure we're in sync with theirs. And I think something that's really unique about the product is you have a lot of folks in space, they're producing these amazing $1 million ads, and then they don't worry about frequency and other controls. So the consumer is seeing the same ad over and over and over again. When we're creating the stitch with the slingshot, in a lot of cases, people never see the same stitch twice. So in a campaign, we could have 10, 20, 30, 100, 1,000 different slingshots we're pairing with the ad. And again, the three of us, we're different folks, different backgrounds, and different locations. We can pull in a bunch of third-party data. So we just signed an amazing deal with the IBM Watson team to pull in weather data. So we can use that to dynamically create slingshots. So it creates this level of personalization that frankly hasn't been seen on connected TV at scale up to this point.
And obviously the advertiser is more than happy to give you up those first 15 seconds just because of the fact that, it's becoming personalized, you're getting a better ad experience, and it does sort of pull you in, and it's really clever. That's a very clever idea. Congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
That is really cool. If I'm Toyota, like, why did Toyota do that? Like, that's such an obvious miss. Like, it's amazing what you guys did, but like, why is Toyota Creative not doing that?
I think that's a good question. And for some regards, thank God they're not. I think in a lot of cases when people are producing the ads, they don't have in terms of versioning and sort of understanding what's like. The nice thing is when we're talking to a client, and with Toyota, that was a long flight. There were seasonal changes or different things that are happening through the flight. So again, they're able to still use their same ad creative, and we're able to look at data in real time, understand what's working, what's testing, how do we make tweaks. And again, like that doesn't, at some point it will, but that doesn't fit into the traditional kind of creative agency today. I don't want to say it's one and done, but to go in and continue to make tweaks, that model just doesn't support that.
Nice. That's very cool.
Yeah, Steven, it sounds like, you even have a lot of IP in the technology. It sounds like there's this dynamic processing. I don't know if you said that was actually happening right now or that's something that's down the road, but that is really interesting where you're, based on geo, based on some other information and data that you're collecting from wherever, that you're able to sort of pull these things together in real time and make that more applicable to the audience. That's really awesome. Yeah, I think there's so much opportunity for disruption, innovation here. We've talked about this a lot. This is, go ahead, Steven, you can finish your thought because I wanted to just kind of go into a little bit of a different direction with it, but go ahead. Let me hear what you were going to say just now.
Yeah, I was just going to build upon what you said is sort of there's the real-time creative decisioning, and then also what we're building now is this really robust machine learning engine where for us, completion rate is a bullshit sort of stat on connected TV. Like, it's irrelevant and also speaks to a lot of phantom devices streaming where no one's in front of the screen. So we have this thing that I always sort of say is that all impressions aren't created equal. Some impressions are someone highly engaged at the screen. Some impressions are someone has left to go to the bathroom and they're not even in front of the TV. So all of our success metrics are working with partners like TVision, LoopMe, and really understanding what is driving an increase in consideration, what's driving an awareness. And the next phase of that we're trying to figure out now is how do we pull that data into the platform to say, okay, we're working with 10 publishers. These 2 publishers are driving the best awareness performance. How do we move more dollars over there and further increase the metrics? So again, like once you have data, there's just so much you can do with it.
Yeah, for sure. Is this happening server side? Is this all happening? Yeah.
Yeah, so most of the clients that we're working with in CTV, I feel like over the last few years, the benefits for, server-side ad insertion are phenomenal in terms of user experience. Obviously, there are, fraud considerations and concerns there, but I would say probably 90-95% of the partners we work with are server-side at this point.
Very cool. Very cool.
So for context, Steven, I started this kind of just testing out the software, and I had Tom on, and I don't know if you know, Tom and I co-founded Float Left. I know we had some conversations back in the day, and also fun fact that I don't know if you were there at Newsy EW Schedule. We did Newsy's first Roku channel, which a little fun fact. But so Tom's now doing a new venture and kind of been just talking about entrepreneurship. and so far we're only 3 in. You're the lucky 3, and I think you said third's the best. But everyone's been a founder, and actually the next 2 weeks we're also going to have founders as well. And I'm just curious, and I mean this by all puns intended, like what's the origin story? So you and Fred are, you guys are at EW Scripts. Like what, like was the bug in the ear? Like how did this happen? The origin story.
I would love to tell you the origin story, and as always, I'm going to keep it real. So it was July 2019, pre-pandemic. Fred and I were walking around Bryant Park, and I mean, we had been at EW Scripts for a while, and I mean, again, we had a great experience at EW Scripts, respect them immensely. I think there are challenges when you work for a big organization and you're in meetings for the sake of meetings and you want to innovate, and the status quo is making a lot of money, and how do you kind of figure that out? So I think we were at that place, which feels like 100 years ago, but it was just a few, where we said, hey, we have all these great ideas to sort of innovate things we had built at EW Scripts. How do we take them to the next level? And there was just a lot of red tape, which I think most people would attest to working in a big company. So we found, I mean, I always like to say, like, we started Origin 90 days before the first case of coronavirus was sort of diagnosed in the world. So, I mean, we grew the company in the sort of shadows of a pandemic, which again created its challenges. We were virtual before everyone went virtual, but we also were able to play into the fact, from a retail perspective, some states had stores open, some states had stores closed, some states had different considerations. You can't play into that with your same ad. And I think a lot of people pulled back advertising for 2-3 months when the pandemic started. And then when they brought advertising back, they were like, maybe the status quo doesn't work, and we need to be innovative around how we're running and sort of be more personalized. So we kind of birthed and grew in this world of a pandemic where people were willing to test and do things. And we spent the first year building the product, testing the product. And then after that, a lot of valid, because again, if I'm a prospective client, I want to see case studies. I want to see data. So we spent the next 6 months building out case studies, getting to work with our first clients. And data, I mean, data validation from different sides has always been important as we built the company, because from a brand survey perspective, that's what people say they're going to do, right? And then if you look at T-Vision from a panel perspective, that's what people are actually doing. Are they in the room? Are their eyes on the screen? Are they on another screen? Are they paying attention? And then next week, we're releasing some exclusive data. We've been working with the IPG Media Lab for the last 2 months, hooking up stuff to people's brains, doing in-panel work. We're never satisfied on the data validation side. So that's sort of the origin story, skipping some pieces. And a big thing for us now that I think is a focus of a lot of people's in the space is, I mean, performance marketers up till about a year or 2 years ago tried to really avoid CTV because the metrics didn't work. CTV was inherently not a clickable environment. So something we're trying to figure out is, I mean, we've proven through data, upper funnel purchase consideration. We're talking to a lot of folks now saying that's great, but like if we spend $1, we have to, I mean, have sold $1.01 worth of product. So something we're really focused on right now is like, how do we work to pixel our media and pixel partners' websites to understand, I mean, are we getting people to the website? Are we getting people to a purchase confirmation? I think in the retail space, there's a lot of talk about cart abandonment. People put things in their cart, they leave. How can we retarget those folks? So again, that's the origin story at like 30 to 20,000 feet. And like what we're focusing now on, there's so much performance marketing dollars moving to CTV. Like, how can we show that that works? Because I think if it does, it's going to unleash even more money moving to CTV.
Mm-hmm.
Did you and Fred leave at the same time?
Close. So he left in July of 2019, and the plan was for me to leave around October. And then I think, I mean, we had a conversation in August, and it was like, things are moving too quickly. You need to leave sooner. So we, out of respect, we staggered our exit a little bit. We tried to do it more, but I think it was basically like a 6-week span.
Nice.
That's a great story. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Kirby. I was just going to say it's a great story. And, you know, one of the things that I'm really now focused on after coming out of Flow Left is just really helping, as Kirby mentioned, helping entrepreneurs, founders, try to get the mentorship and the coaching that I think that they need in the early days. Things that I didn't have, we didn't have that opportunity to have. We tried at some point to form advisory boards, but it's like things are moving so fast that you just got to focus on the business, and sometimes the things that are important, you know, that you don't realize, you kind of push to the side. So That's really what I'm focused on, and trying to work with some great, passionate founders. Curious if this is your first, is this your first kind of go at starting a business, or have you done this before at a previous venture? Curious what.
Yeah, so like when I was in college, I started a website. It was kind of a hobby project where I would do DVD reviews and run advertiser campaigns. And I always tell people if I had known back then how to buy traffic, I would have been filthy rich, but I didn't. So it was a hobby business that I made a few $1,000s a month. Stopped, and then so this was my first foray at full-time starting a business. And again, I always tell people that I mean, professionally, it's been some of the highest highs I've experienced and some of the lowest lows. Because when you first start, like we went from getting paid really well to getting paid nothing. And then you sort of like, what I mean, we did consulting for a while to make money and sort of pivoted. And like, again, when you start your own company, I mean, you control your own destiny, and you win and fail by the viability of what you're doing and making sure it's something interesting. And like now it's incredibly rewarding and less scary. But yeah, the first 3-4 months, I mean, especially when the pandemic sort of hit, it's kind of like, holy shit, did we make the right decision? And never had any regrets. And it's been kind of like being a parent to some extent. It's been kind of a learning on the job process since I haven't done it before, but it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, it was sort of scary as hell the first few months.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a lonely, you get very lonely doing it. You don't have a lot of folks outside of your immediate team that really can relate to some of the challenges that you're facing. And so it's it's really challenging. And I can't even imagine dealing with that inside of the pandemic, getting that, having to deal with all that, coupling the complexity of everything that you're already doing. So crazy stuff.
I mean, shit, Tom. Oh, go ahead, Steven. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I forgot to dump it. I said shit. But I was going to say, like, I can imagine, like, when we started Float Left, more or less, like, we had a house we stayed on, and like that was the little incubator. Like, we were together, and like to not be together. I mean, it's doable, but also just starting a new thing. There's just things that you can't accomplish in a Slack message, and just like it's in my mind, it's a lot more difficult to do it apart.
Oh, you mean 100%. And like the nice thing is, I mean, the two other founders of Origin have started a number of companies. So I mean, doing it alone, I couldn't imagine. I'm not sure I would have survived. And luckily, we had that personal relationship of working together and spent a lot of time together before the pandemic. But I mean, as much as you can video conference all day long, I mean, being in the room together and sort of having a whiteboard and sort of brain dumping, I mean, you can't do that virtually.
But there's also, and I think what you're getting at too is that there's an excitement that you have too in this process of, and sometimes not knowing, ignorance is bliss sometimes when you're building something like this, right? Like if you knew the things that you were going to be facing, there's a very good chance that you might say, you know what, now's not the right time. I'm going to wait. I'm not ready to deal with that right now. But once you jump in, you kind of have to, you're too far down the road to turn around. So.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's always funny because I've had sort of friends who are like, oh, that's so cool, you left and started something, and what's the right time to do that? And my answer is there's never, I mean, when I joined Newsy, my wife was 8 months pregnant, and when I started Origin, I had a 2-month-old at home, and like I was sort of a walking zombie in both of those cases. And like if you waited for the perfect time to start a business or have kids, no one would start businesses and no one would have kids. So sometimes you just need to make that leap of faith.
Yeah.
Tom, you just had Ben when we started Float Left, right?
Yeah, I had a baby, this brand new baby, and but like Steven said, I mean, you just gotta. The machine, the train had already left the station, right? We were just passengers on this thing. It was already leaving, and we were just like, all right, let's buckle up because
Well, our current employer helped us, so take that step. Like Tom and I always talk, and I'm sure you and Fred had the same conversation. Like I'm confused. I used to call Fred Freddie, but now I see on LinkedIn he's Fred. Is he Freddie? Is he Freddie? He's Hey Dude? Like, what's his real name now?
Hey Dude, trademark. But no, he did a complete rebrand, and you'll have to ask him the reasons. But he is formerly known as Freddie, but now Fred. And I think since he's changed his name, he's been far more successful. So it was an overdue change.
Nice. Okay.
I still have family that call me Tommy, which makes me cringe. Sorry, Mom.
Oh no.
But I mean, Is what it is, man.
So I'm sure you had similar. Sorry, Steven. I'm sure you had similar talks with Fred on when's the right time to do this, and you just gave that answer. There is no right time to do it. And Tom and I had similar chats, and I think I talked about that on one of these video podcast thingies, and sitting at Panera Bread, and we figured out like this is exactly what we want. But actually, what helped us, there's like two main things that pushed us out of the door. I'll say the first one, and Tom, you say you got that second one. The first one is we had a big project we were working on, like basically this thing called Float Left we were doing on the side. We're working full time at a financial research company. That's the first thing that kind of like made us decide we need to like just do this now. It's not the bank, it's not the money in the bank account we talked about, but like we need to go now. And Tom, what's the second one that kind of made us decide, you know what, we got to quit our jobs and do this full time?
God, I don't know, man. I don't know. You got me.
Dude, we almost got fucking fired. And we were put on a 5-day probation over Memorial Day, like 2009. Yes. Like we're looking at like this thing called Float Left because we're some guys doing some thing on the side called Float Left, like working with the NBA and Mog Music, which is like a really like hot streaming service back then. I mean, Mog was acquired by Beats, which is acquired by Apple. So like some sliver of Apple Music IP we were working on with Roku in 2010. And so like people were buzzing around the office and made its way to management, and they just didn't like we were building this thing. And of course, like they were seeing like, are they working during office hours, which I don't think I was, maybe Tom was or wasn't, but like they put us on probation. They seized our computers like over Memorial Day. I remember like, man, these drinks aren't the same. Like knowing like I might get fired in a couple days. And Tom never went back. I think I went back for 2 days. And like everything was weird. Everyone was looking at me differently, like, oh man, what's going on? And I think I went to the bathroom, like I went to the urinal, kind of next to my boss at the time, a good friend too, and I said, dude, I think I quit. Like, man, this is too much. I'm gonna do this full time. So we're Float Left full time. Yeah. And so we finished that project. The first like 2 super early adopters on building Roku apps, NBA and Mog. And shit, man, after that, I mean, it was early. Like we were, I'm curious to know more about your pivot, but we pivoted to like, dude, we did a website about menopause for somebody, just to like feed the beast and do projects to pay the bills. And then eventually like
we were
2012.
Yeah, we were building web apps before, and it was only about maybe a month or two. And I had, you know, as Kirby was mentioning, we were all together. I actually wound up recruiting my boss at the time and got him involved. And I said, listen, I need you to run operations and project manage, and, you know, because this thing's like a little rocket ship that we're on here. So that's how it got really ugly in there internally, because we were having meetings and things and inside, like, because he was my boss, it didn't really look too awkward. But it was a weird time.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So you talk about the whole, like, which I'm smirking of, like, you mean you were kind of not caught, maybe caught is the right word, and like had to sort of like decide what you were doing, and that kind of like pushed you, and sometimes you need that push. I guess the question is, if that didn't happen, like, would you guys have stayed another month, another year? Like, if you didn't get the push, how much longer would you have been there?
That's a great question.
I was ready. I mean, I was so ready. I was so fired up and so focused on it. I would have, I think if I were to, I was given an ultimatum. I actually wasn't like released. I was given an ultimatum. It was either shut this thing down or, you know.
I see.
And it took me all about 2 seconds, not even 1 second to say, no, we're all in on this. This is a big thing. And we had another contract that was already lined up behind the one that we were doing with Roku and the NBA. So it was, it was kind of it was definitely an easier decision than I think many other people may have. I don't know.
Sure.
And I think when you didn't go back, I think what we decided to do was you leave, I'll stay for as long as we could do that. And I think I lasted 2 days.
Yeah.
But as long as you can stay in 2 days, that's
exactly,
that's lasting power.
I basically needed to get my files back.
So what are you? So where are you now in the evolution of your business, right? So you've got this great product. You're obviously product developing. That's going to be perpetual. You're going to keep doing that for as long as the business is around, I would imagine. What do you got? What's the big thing that you got going on right now for the next 90 to 120 days? Like what's the big focus? And in terms of just not even with your product, but like just overall with the business, are you scaling? Where are you in your growth? Are you kind of just, what's going on with the business overall? Just curious.
Yeah, I think there's a few things. It's for clients that we have, making sure that we're kind of growing those accounts where we're working with individual brands and agencies. How do we use that to get more business within a specific agency? That's one thing on kind of like the sales side. And from just a general innovation side, something that's always kind of fascinated me is addressable TV. And we're talking to some folks now from the CTV side, or how can I use your capabilities on TV? And addressable is a really interesting sweet spot there. So I think we're looking for some campaign opportunities. Again, for us, it's the big screen in the living room, whether the pipe that connects it is a coax cable, a Roku device, or frankly, anything else, it doesn't matter. And we think the performance is the same. So we want to play in that addressable TV space. And then, as you mentioned, there's the constant product evolution. It's building machine learning, ideally over the summer, building a front end so folks can come in, they can create their own kind of slingshot compilations through our kind of instant activation product and activate those kind of hands-on. And a lot of what Fred and I do is just kind of go on webinars and say shit and curse, but more importantly is educate people in the space. And I think the challenge is, like when Fred and I were at Newsy many years ago, and this is the challenge of selling any product, 92% of it was education. People didn't even know what CTV was and didn't believe in it or weren't buying it. And then 8% is what you're trying to sell. I think the nice thing is we're really focused on a lot of people who understand the CTV space and are transacting. So it's 8% education and 92% benefits of the product. And the nice thing for us is, given what we're doing is new and innovative, we're able to kind of tap into these test budgets at agencies. So I think there's a product, there's sort of growing the sales pipeline, and then also, understanding how the product works for different verticals. We've done a lot of work for travel, which I think is a really interesting sector in 2022. Is God willing, the pandemic eases, people are traveling. Travel's performed really well for us, autos and retail. We're going to be testing with some B2B clients. So I think, again, we're never done stress testing the product. Mm-hmm. And I think when you're pitching to someone and you can give them stats, that's one thing, where you can give them stats that directly relate to the vertical or mention a competitor that can accelerate some of those conversations. So yeah, I think the big focus over the next 6 months, growing the sales pipeline, educating the industry, really owning this concept of native TV and just ideating sort of on the product. So again, where we're running a campaign and driving a 40% increase in attention, how can we build a machine learning engine that gets that to 80%? So never really being satisfied on the outcomes and continuing to sort of to push the bar.
Stephen, you mentioned phantom ads earlier, and I imagine a phantom ad is like when I turn off my TV, but my Roku or other set-top box is still running. And so I realized this months ago, basically on a Friday night, I turned on Pluto TV on Apple TV. And I think I didn't turn the TV back on until like Tuesday or Wednesday the following week. And it was still running. So at which point it's like, I didn't realize at first. I just started watching whatever I left off or the channel rather. And then I thought to myself, is this still on? It's never turned off. And I was right back in there. So I decided, well, let's see how long it goes. And I think it lasted like 2 or 3 more days until somebody, either one of the kids accidentally pressed the button or maybe the internet took a hit. And actually, so I saw this, I'm sure you saw too, I talked about it, to like double verify, saying that 25% of all ads are being shown when the TV's off. And maybe that number's higher, maybe it's not, but like it brought me back to that moment. Like, yeah, like how many ads were shown during that 72, do 24 times 6. That's the number. It's Friday. I don't do math. But like that's a lot of viewing time. That's a lot of ads. And so I started the experiment again, I think on Monday evening. And as of today, it did eventually turn off. And I don't know, I know all devices are different. Obviously a smart TV is probably the app would turn off when you turn off the power, but curious, is that like a phantom ad in your book?
I think it is, and people have been talking about phantom ads for 2 to 3 years, and I think frankly I'm not going to call out names, but there are companies there that publicly traded companies, and to sort of take a 25% whack on sort of revenue or ads probably wasn't totally digestible. So, I mean, you mentioned Pluto, and it's interesting. I'm not sure when they launched this, but I have Pluto on all day long. And now after about 4 hours, I get this sort of like bottom of the bar thing. Are you still watching? And then if you say no, don't interact for about 20 minutes, you kind of get this screen. Are you watching? Are you watching? Are you watching? And like that is fairly new. And I think you're seeing that on the app level. I think you're seeing that on the platform level. And I don't know if that is apps and platforms being good stewards of advertising dollars, or some of the big agencies have really kind of pushed and said, you need to solve for this. You need to confirm whether sort of the screen is on. And it's interesting because we talked earlier about attention. The screen being on doesn't even mean someone's in front of the screen, right?
Yeah.
So you have like this sort of funnel effect of viewership. Is like, if the screen's on, no one's watching it. But like, there's a lot of data. A lot of times the screen is on and people like, I have stuff on 8 hours a day. My eyes are on the screen probably 20 minutes of those 8 hours. So like, I think that's, I mean, the 25% I was surprised by initially, but when you think of scale, I'm not. So I think you'll see a reduction of that, because advertisers and agencies should push for that, right? Like that's wasted money. And then I think you get down in the funnel, like when the screen is on, what percentage of people are actively engaged with the content? So yeah, I think there's all these conversations now on phantom viewing. I think they're long overdue, because to your case, with your one screen not on, but like serving ads for 2 or 3 days, that's probably thousands and thousands of impressions that were just absolutely wasted, but someone got charged for those and someone still got paid for those.
Yeah.
All right, I have a question that's I am not well versed in this at all, so it may just sound like a ridiculously stupid question, but
I'll pretend it's not if it is.
Yeah, please. So it's ACR, content active content recognition, right? I believe is the acronym, right?
Yes, I think so.
What is happening with ACR? Is there anything interesting that's happening with ACR at all? Are you leveraging this technology in any way to get better metrics for more targeted advertising, which is what you're focused on? I mean, I feel like that this has been like when this started to develop a few years ago, there's a handful of companies that are doing this. They're doing some really interesting work around this technology. Yeah. But it just feels like it's, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's making any progress. And again, maybe I'm completely ignorant, which it sounds like maybe I am. But I'm curious to see if anyone's leveraging this for anything beyond like just, to be honest with you, I'm not even sure how people are leveraging it. I mean, onboard platform analytics, but is that being utilized by anybody else other than the platforms? Just curious.
Yeah, so I mean, that's actually a super smart question, and I'm not just sort of saying that to be nice. So I mean, I think we're seeing it used in 2 ways. One, when you look at addressable audiences and sort of understanding what's on screen, ACR is playing a big piece of that. What we're seeing is when we're talking to agencies and brands is they're saying, hey, we have a new show premiere for X season 6. We want to use ACR data through Samba, through Inscape, through another provider, and we want to target people who have watched the series over the last 30 days or watched in this premiere window for a year ago. So again, ACR data is interesting to me because I feel like a few years ago, people ACR data was part of every data conversation. People wouldn't stop talking about it. I feel like it really went quiet and is coming back again. But the use case we've seen and executed on really is working with a client like Macy's. How do we leverage ACR data to understand who watched the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade last year and sort of retargeting them? So understanding sort of specific audiences and retargeting them, we have used. You don't have to use ACR data to do that, but I do agree that like 18 to 24 months ago, every conversation I would have, ACR data came up and then it went like way down, and now it's sort of making a comeback again. So I don't know if that's a cost consideration, if that's sort of a limitation of audience, because again, I mean, it's limited to certain providers. It's not representative of the whole audience you can reach. So I don't know if you have anything to add, Kirby, but I mean, I think that's a smart question.
No, I'm going to play pretty dumb on ACR as well.
Oh, okay.
Not my part of the space, but curious, like how are you guys finding new clients?
You mean 2 ways. We have a really great lead gen strategy. So we're targeting sort of emails with stats that feel really personalized and have a great conversion rate there. Obviously, the best way is always word of mouth. So if we're working with a client and can get sort of referrals, that's powerful. And then we're getting sort of cold or warmish sort of inbounds from all of our kind of marketing and speaking and other efforts. So, I mean, I think at this point we have a fairly decent flow, which is great. The one challenge we have, which I think everyone has, is where do you reach someone in the planning cycle? So if we reach someone now, maybe they planned all of their CTV budget for 2022. So it's an education process being top of mind until the summer when they plan 23, or are they kind of like testing quarterly? So we've been really privileged to have a great pipeline of people coming in. It's just, and you don't know when you sort of reach them. So sometimes by the time you get someone in, it can be an 8-12 month conversation of being top of mind until they have an opportunity to actually test with you.
How much do in-person meetings happen for you guys, if at all?
I mean, still not much. I mean, there's just, not that I don't believe it. There's a narrative that sort of New York City is back, and like that's great, and I hope it is. But I think most people, and I mean, I have friends in the financial sector. They've been back in the office for a long, long time. I feel like in the media space, most folks still aren't back or back in a hybrid model. I mean, we just sort of are kind of between, or hopefully like at the end of big spikes. So I think there is this tolerance for in-person meetings. And I think, frankly, that's one of the things that Fred and I have missed a lot. I mean, in the last 2 years, we all have. But I think when you're trying to sell an innovative product through web conferences, people have 100 windows open. They're not fully paying attention. Like, when you're pitching products and doing lunch and learns and in the same room, just like we talked when you work with colleagues, like you miss that. So like we're really keen to get back in person, go to shows. I mean, I hope we see that maybe the end of this month, next month. It just really aligns with people being back in the office, but hopefully that's really soon.
Not familiar with, let me see how this works actually. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Oh my God.
I'm trying to overlay chat. I got a comment. Whoa, that's pretty cool. Anyway, John, I'm not familiar with Jonathan Matthews, but yeah.
Jonathan Matthews is my good friend. I actually paid him to post that. So evidently people are having in-person meetings.
Nice.
Yeah, I guess we've got a little bit of time left. I mean, anybody have any questions? Just throw it in the comments. Would be great. We could. For anybody, open it up.
If anyone has any ACR questions, Kirby's going to do a quick Google search and pull all the information. So any and all ACR questions, Kirby's going to grab those quickly.
Side note: LaCroix, they don't endorse us at all, but passion fruit. It's the just take us in a different direction, guys. Passion fruit.
Nice.
Good.
Brought to you by.
My boss is really mean. Please help me, Fred wrote. So Stephen, when you said Fred and I miss in-person meetings, I don't know if I ever told you guys this. Maybe I don't know why I wouldn't shoot you a text, but I was in a cab one day, I think on 49th Street, and I think this was 2019. And I just look out to my right, that would be the north side of the street, and I just see like you and Fred like walking so fucking fast. It was like the fastest I've ever seen humans walk.
Were we holding big bags of cash or no?
I don't even remember. You walked by the cab so fast because I was just stuck in traffic. I'm sure I sent a text or something, but I was like, holy shit, that's Fred and Steven.
Can I tell you my favorite Kirby story? And this might not be appropriate, and Freddie is going to like this. So we were in Vegas. I think it was like CES, and like, I don't know if Kirby was between jobs or not, but we were at like Margaritaville, Freddie and I, and Kirby met us. And Kirby like quickly slammed like 3 drinks. And we were like, the Curbster is on a fucking roll. What is he doing? And he's like, I'm just trying to catch up with you guys. And Fred and I were like, we haven't even started drinking yet. And like, I love, that is like my favorite. And then we all had quickly caught up with Kirby, but that was my favorite Kirby story. I don't have a Kirby story of him running on the street.
And I almost missed my flight too. But real quick, and then Tom, you go. Just about that Margaritaville story. It actually was, I don't know, some message we all, like some text we exchanged recently, like this year or like within months of current time, about that Margaritaville incident. And it wasn't until then did I realize you guys actually weren't there that long. So for whatever reason, whatever time we're supposed to meet, I was super late because like I was bouncing around like a bunch of places, like just stuck in traffic. So I get there whatever time. And yeah, I just thought you guys had been there for a while. And so I went to catch up. with you guys, and it wasn't until whatever text we exchanged like months ago did I realize, oh, so they weren't there that long. So we're talking like 5 years. So yeah, I was trying to catch up, and I almost missed my flight. I remember too. We ended up seeing each other get in the terminal. But that's hey, whatever. You got to catch up, man.
You got to catch up. It doesn't matter who. I mean, I see John Matthews, who's being a good contributor in the audience. And I remember seeing, so the IAB sort of like leadership meetings were this week in New York. And like, they were one of the first conferences I saw people post pictures that there were actually like a lot of people in the audience. So one, I realized I probably should have went, and like, maybe it was a bit of an indicator that like people are getting more comfortable with in-person events. So I liked seeing that.
Did anybody go to CES this year?
I think, I mean, I saw a bunch of pictures that there were like several people there in aggregate. So we really wanted to go, tried to the last minute, had planned a great roster of events. And I mean, I think we got to the point where we looked at our schedule and everyone else had kind of pulled out. So that was, I mean, that was going to be our big in-person. We had a nice suite and had a bunch of drinks lined up hidden for Kirby, and like, we're going to have a great event. And like, it all fell apart, which is a bummer. So we're now looking at NAB. Is that a good opportunity? But at least keen to start getting into New York City and having meals and spending time with people.
Steve, are you based in New York?
New York adjacent. So I left the city. I'm about an hour and 20 minutes north in Connecticut, next to a small farm with very, very loud animals at night. So I can get into the city when I need to, but I'm just far enough away to keep my sanity.
Perfect. That's great.
So what's better, Connecticut or New York pizza?
I don't think I'm allowed to comment, but I mean, nothing compares with New York. It's all kind of like rip-off stuff up here. But like, I'm also like, and I'm going to offend some people, hopefully not John Matthews or Fred, who might ask more questions or claim they're being held hostage. I'm actually also a big fan of Chicago-style pizza. So I'm pretty broad on the pizza spectrum.
All right, I'm going to comment on Chicago-style pizza. So everybody thinks that, and you're probably talking about deep dish, right?
Hell yeah.
And deep dish, regardless if it's pizza, it's fucking delicious. Like if it's a casserole, it's a damn good casserole. But like Chicago style, like deep dish, although I love it, it's great. And I cook all pizza, that's fine. It's like your Times Square Chicago pizza. Like Chicagoans eat the thin crust, cracker thin pizza, which we'll go sometime. There's only one place in New York that even does it, and it's down in Soho on McDougal Street. It's one of the best pizzas in New York.
Have you guys ever had Philly pizza?
Yeah, like a cheesesteak?
Oh my gosh.
I love Philly. Nobody ever gives Philly pizza any love. Maybe because there's no love to give. I don't know. But
what is different and interesting about?
I'm just trying to throw Philly into this conversation somewhere. That's all. I'm a Philly native.
Food. So you got cheesesteak.
Yeah, we've got cheesesteaks, but we do have good pizza. But I need more exposure to other.
Take your word for it.
Other pizzas.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine a Philly's kind of just a knockoff of New York slice.
Like New York.
Like what's different? I don't know. Maybe it's different. I don't know.
I will say around deep dish pizza, as much as I like it, like, and I can have like a slice or two, and then I feel like I fucking poisoned myself because that is so loaded with garbage. Like, and again, not to offend anyone, but like that is dense.
Yeah. Here's a impromptu question for you, for both of you, and I don't think Tom I ever asked you this, and I feel like everybody needs this answer. All right, you ready?
Oh boy, let's do it.
All right, let's see how fast you can answer too, because whatever your gut tells you, that's probably the answer. So if you're a professional baseball player and you're going up to bat, what's your walk-up music? What's the song or part of a song or song that plays while you walk up to the plate?
Britney Spears, "Hit Me Baby One More Time."
Okay. All right.
Oh, man, I can't answer that, man. That's a really hard question. Enya popped into my mind for a second. I don't know why, but
Enya, wow.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Enya. I get Enya and Erasure confused.
She's on my brain. I had an Enya playlist just rolling earlier, so she's on my brain right now. But I don't know that I'd have her doing my walk-up music. But I don't know, something heavy, something crunchy for sure. Maybe like Back in Black, but everybody picks that. I don't know, man. That's a tough one.
Mine is, I'm prepped. I've had practice. Mine is System of a Down, Chop Suey.
Okay.
No, all right.
I'm laughing not because of your answer, because I realized, because I'm also looking at my LinkedIn screen that's streaming this, and Freddie's comment about like me holding him hostage has like been on the screen the whole time, which is sort of funny.
Oh man,
Very funny.
I saw one person was watching live. I guess that was you then. Shit.
Oh my gosh, that's
How do you know
counting me.
how many people are actually watching? I mean, is there a way to?
I have no clue because it's per platform, right?
So it
I can
tells
just-
you like, and I don't know if this is aggregated, but I saw on LinkedIn, I think we peaked at sort of 6 or 7. So I was not disappointed with that. And then I realized I was one of those, so became just ever so slightly disappointed. But I'm not sure if that's aggregating everyone from other platforms.
Okay. All right.
No, it'd be separate. But check this out. Here's where you should feel good. Name a famous podcast right now.
Friday Fodder.
Name another one.
I don't know anything about podcasts. I'm sorry.
Anyway, take whatever a popular podcast is. Like they have no viewers before that's posted on demand, so we're higher than that. Fred was 5 of the viewers. Awesome. So it's like It's like a leave us with some thoughts on monthly active users. So Fred, basically one guy is 5 active users, which Pluto's at 52 and Zumo 20 something and active users. And actually, I was on a panel. I asked this question. Awesome guy, and everyone's talking about how viewership is more of a better metric than active user. And Steven, I think you know my stance on active users. And a question that I don't think anybody saw coming because there was kind of like a gap. But there was a guy, Pluto TV, super cool guy. But I asked him, like he talked a lot about good metrics, like viewership metrics. It's like, well, you guys still talk about monthly active users. Like if I'm on a computer and then I get a push notification on my phone, I click on it, I go to the app, and then kind of the same thing on my laptop. Like I'm 3 users right there. Like, what do you think about that? And like everyone's kind of, that happens, right? And you can't kind of unify experiences. Like I don't expect Zumo, Pluto, or any other ad-supported service that rides on monthly active users, or at least has started to. At this point, you're kind of screwed because let's say Zumo creates like a authentication piece where I can like create my order of my channels and add a favorites on certain on-demand videos, so I can like have that experience on Apple and go downstairs and have the same experience on Roku. As soon as you do that, now 2 active users, if I watch it in both rooms, now I'm 1, and that's not good to report. You kind of stuck now reporting those metrics.
I've always been in the Kirby camp that monthly active users, I mean, there's 2 things that are bullshit. I mean, monthly active users, because again, if you think of some of these platforms having a lot of churn, they spend a lot of money on marketing. So they get people to come in. And what is a monthly active user? Is it someone who accidentally clicked into an ad on Roku for 3 seconds, or is it someone that spent 10 hours a month on the platform? So for me, and we've talked about this, and I've talked about this, like how many times does a household come back per month, and like how much content is someone consuming in a session? And to me, then I can have an apples to apples comparison, because I think when the MAUs thing started, it was sort of funny. Pluto had 32. Oh no, Tubi has 32.1, and this like, and again, it was just this sort of like pissing contest, I think is a technical term. So you have the MAU thing being not a valid metric, and then on the sort of the paid streaming side, and not to call out Peacock, you have the issue too with these streamers reporting numbers, and are they paid subscribers or are they free sort of trial push subscribers? And I think Peacock is sort of, I was going to make a lot of inappropriate joke there, but Peacock has let us look under the feathers and see that like when you take all the people who weren't paying off, that's a much smaller number. So I think part of these companies are on MAUs, they're public companies. Wall Street has sort of like bitten on to the MAU number. And I think there are people like you, Kirby, in the space who are pushing back. So again, to get someone into an app for 3 seconds, just spend a lot of marketing money and pump up your, I mean, what is the stickiness? And when we know the stickiness, we can understand churn and other factors. So I think finally the facade on sort of MAUs is breaking a little bit.
And I like you said pissing match, because I don't understand why even report those numbers. Like who are we impressing? Is it Wall Street? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Let me ask you one more question on the CTV side. So you said you talked about incentivization, and not a lot of people are incentivized to fix certain issues. And the most annoying one is frequency capping, like seeing the damn commercial over and over in the same ad pod, or even like every ad pod during a certain show. Like, who's like the ultimate player that needs to like address this, or is it many people that need to come together and do? Who cares? Does anyone in the space, like, who cares about this? Like, consumers obviously hate it, and there's a lot of like ramifications, like qualitative ramifications that this would have on a brand. Like, I'll never buy that toothpaste because they kept showing me the same ads and they're mic'd 6 times the volume of the show. I just hate that brand. I had a conversation with somebody today. They said the same. They said that. I don't know if that's many people or he's an outlier, but I mean, clearly there's some ramifications of repetitive ads and hype volumes. And
I mean, absolutely. And I think there's 2 things. And again, I spend all of my day with a FAST platform in the background. Is you have frequency issues, and then you have mobile creatives that are being stretched to run on CTV that look like garbage, or you have issues with stuff not framing correctly and looking like shit. And again, you have 2 parties responsible, right? Like, if you're an advertiser, you're paying for this. I think you owe it to your board, to your shareholders, to people who pay you money to make sure these are good experiences. And again, I'm a believer in good karma. So I spend a few minutes every day saying, hey, I saw your ad on TV. Like, I'm not trying to sell you anything, but like, you have a problem here. And a lot of times people respond, oh my God, I didn't know that. So like, I think on the advertiser side, these are your dollars. You want to make sure that they're being spent in the right way. And frankly, you have an obligation on the platform side. And something I hear a lot, and I'm going to call bullshit on that a little bit. And if you are playing the drinking game at home, this is the 28th time I've said bullshit. So you might be drunk or you may have passed out. But like, the argument I hear a lot is, if I'm an app owner, well, I have a bunch of people selling my inventory. I have a bunch of SSPs selling into my inventory. Sorry, I don't think that passes muster. You can look at the bid request. You can see if you want to solve for it, you can solve for it. And the other argument is, well, there are 10 different ad slots in the ad pod. They don't talk to each other. Again, solve for it. You can do things on the tech side that, okay, I saw this same file in the last 3 minutes. I'm not going to run it again. You then have to wonder, is it an issue of them not wanting to solve it, or is it an issue of revenue impact? So I think whenever anyone mentions that it can't be solved, that's because maybe they don't want to take time to solve for it. But I do remember, and I don't like want to like blow the issue away. I remember 3 years ago watching ad breaks with 6 ad pods. It was the same ad 6 times in a row. And we're not seeing that anymore. We've moved past that. But again, I will keep saying this anytime I talk and Freddie's listening to me and commenting, like, this is 100% solvable. There is no reason it cannot be solved. People don't want to solve it. And I always joke that if you look at the end of the month or end of the quarter, I joke that the head of sale, like with some platforms, it gets a lot worse. And I do wonder if maybe the head of sales snuck in and turned off the frequency capping controls. But it's still a very prevalent issue. And then even where people have solved for it on a break by break level, you then have these Hulu experiences where it's the same ad break over and over. And again, that's more tolerable, but that's still such a shitty experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, just even to go back to what you said, Stephen, about the six ads per pod, and then just the same ad each time. I mean, and on top of that, no care at all of where these pods are in, where these breaks are actually happening. Just the completely inappropriate breaks, and then the wrong ad, and then the wrong ad 6 times in a row. Like, the whole thing is just a nightmare for people. And it was just like, we would work with publishers that would just say, listen, just stick something every 10 minutes, just jam it in there. We don't have any software that's going to be able to detect this. We don't have the workflows in place to be able to figure out where it's appropriate to put these breaks, and no logic to it. And we ran like that. We ran with publishers like that for a long time. And it was, it's crazy. So it's good to hear that has now evolved. At least we're not dealing with that type of issue anymore. But yeah, to your point, and to everybody's point on this call, is that it seems like there's still a tremendous amount of opportunities for it to even get much better. So
100%. And I always joke that, and again, I'll call out a name a little bit, but like, me and my wife, this sort of plays into sort of like the VOD, adjustable dynamic nature of it. Like, we watch a lot of VOD programming on platforms like Discovery and Discovery Plus. And it's interesting to me, like, in a linear environment, I appreciate the considerations around needing a 2-minute break. But in a VOD environment, like, instead of showing me the same promo 10 times during an episode, for the same program. Like, just get me back to the show. I mean, it's interesting to me. People are like, just get me back to the show. I don't need. That's not an appropriate frequency.
I'm watching it already. I'm already sitting in front of it, and you're interrupting me with this nonsense. Yeah, that was always another thing that I used to get so frustrated with too. So
I blame Kirby for that, but it might not be.
It's all Kirby's fault. I mean, this guy.
Most things. This may be the one thing that's not his fault. What's playing in the background, Kirby? What are you running unviewable impressions on?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. That's actually Plex.
Oh, good. A nice app?
Yeah, I mean, I just was downloading, checking it out. It's a refresh app, Apple TV. So yeah, just checking out. It's on. Yeah, that's what's going on. Yeah. One more question for you, Fred, and that's it. Mike, like the volume on ads. I thought I'd read something 9 years ago where there was a law where you can't like mic the volume up on ads louder than the programming, but I still come across that. Did I read wrong, or why is there still ads where the volume is twice as much as what's being shown?
I believe, and don't quote me, I think that law was only specific to traditional TV means. I don't think that applied to connected TV. I will say, of all the issues we've talked about, that most folks now, at least from the big streaming side, they're taking in ads, and instead of just streaming the file that's passed to them through the SSP, they're downloading the file, normalizing it, and one of the things they're solving for is audio. So like of the frequency and other issues, I feel like that I don't see much anymore. And like a few years ago, that was jarring. So again, like there's no standards. If all three of us are advertisers, you have your audio at a 3, you have it at a 5, you have it at a 6. I think most, at least of the bigger channels, are addressing that. So like, I think, I don't want to call that solved, but I think even if it wasn't a legal thing, that's like the shittiest user experience. And frankly, the easiest thing to solve. So I don't see too much of that anymore, knock on plastic.
I guess maybe FCC will pass something in 80 years, right?
80, 90 years.
The good old 80 years. All right, so we're going to wrap up here soon. Any final words related to the space or not you want to say?
I mean, just that, nothing to add to the, I mean, I think it's like every year has been the year to see TV. I think we're a few years in, and gosh, it's a fun space and privilege to get to work in it. And I think this conversation was immensely fun and unfiltered, and I'm excited to watch it back and kind of cringe to see how many things I said that were just wildly inappropriate.
Awesome. Well, we could definitely help you with that once we get the on-demand version. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Definitely appreciate you joining.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Stephen, thanks for joining. I just wanted to comment, Stephen, on what you said about getting into the space. Like there's people that are saying that this is just the first inning of this industry, which is mind-boggling because we've been in it for so long.
Yeah.
And but it is still in its infancy, so it is very exciting to see how things play out. Congrats to everything that you're doing. It sounds like you got a great product, great company. You've got great people working with you. Freddie, maybe I'll call him Fred from now on. I don't know what to do. If I see Fred in person, I'll call him Fred. But congrats to you guys and everything you're doing.
That's very kind of you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And it's the first inning, and you don't know your walk-up music. Stephen, next time I'm in New York, probably April, maybe you could come down from the farm, come in your horse and carriage, and we could go with Fred and get some Emmett's Chicago-style thin pizza. Get the hot poppy.
Oh,
if you don't know about that, you need to know about that.
The hot what?
Hot poppy.
I don't know what that is. I'll have to Google search that.
It's the pepperoni. The pepperoni that curls, the thick, like natural tasting pepperoni, some red onions, jalapenos, and like a paprika ranch drizzle.
You get started a video series on pizza, dude. You know a lot about this.
That's basically what this is morphing into.
Kind of. Masked as
we should have done the hot chip challenge. We do the hot chip, and then we do the whole thing, and then see how it goes.
Yeah. But I won't say anything more. But as of this week, I'm in the phases of exploring whether there's a business case around it. But I have a new business idea, and it revolves around like curating where you should go eat in any given city. So that's super cool. And I'm at the phase of maybe I'll do some more research in 2 hours, be like, there's no money here, or like this is being solved by 14 other people. But like, that's cool. That'd be cool. I love to like do my rounds. And when I moved to New York City, they said you couldn't go to every restaurant. It's not possible. And God damn it, I tried, and I didn't come close. But have some good recommendations. So if there's a business behind that, that'd be cool. And maybe there's not, and we'll see. I'm in the first inning of that.
Well, I'm like not in a big city, so I'm the opposite. But me and my wife drove around like an hour last night trying to find a place to eat, and we ended up at some crappy type place. And like again, you're looking at Yelp, you're looking at Google Maps, and like it's not very helpful. So there's an interesting use case in a small city versus New York City where there's tons of restaurants. But I think you might be onto something.
Yeah, a four in New York City is way different than a 4 in wherever you live in Connecticut. Like a 4 in New York City, 4.5, like you got to go there. A 4 somewhere else.
I don't have that luxury. Like after a certain time at night, I got to be in like a 3.6, 3.8. So like I'm not eating. So there's different considerations when you're outside the city.
Pizza Hut, 55 reviews, 3.8. We're going.
Order, get it done.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Tom. Next week we have Dan Garraway, VP of Strategy, Interactive, former co-founder of WireWax.
Very cool.
Nice.
Vimeo now through an acquisition of WireWax. So I haven't talked to Dan since then. So sure we'll learn more about that. And cool guy. And until then,
see you guys.
have a good weekend, guys. Go Bengals.
Yeah, go Bengals.
All right. See you guys.
Go Bengals. Bye, guys.
Bye.